I just want it, I'm using a 6-ounce gripper by the JRC. I just want it lightly gripped because you're not casting it out in the lake. You can still do the same thing if you was casting it out in the lake. Cut that a little bit down so it's really short. Don't use the whole length of the tag, because what you have the tendency to do is you're like pushing it all the way on and it just locks it down onto the lead, and the fish just can't eject it. So like cutting it down, you know, it can get rid of that lead straight away. Just boil this up. Well, that's sorted that out. Just take that off a minute. Just cut off the tail bit. So I've just got it with a slight bit of a bend in it there, like that. And like, because it's coming out the side of the tubing instead of the bottom of the tubing, when you pull on it, it's always pulling the hook down into the fish, as opposed to, because it's coming out the back of the tubing, it's pulling it up at the side. Then when you pull it into your finger, it pulls the hook down into the fish all the time, as opposed to trying to pull it out of the fish. So like, I've used that setup, and you know, I know there's a lot of versions of different rigs out there, but this is the one I use. I like it because it's nice and simple. You know, you can go too technical and just spend a lot of time tying rigs up. You know, at the end of the day, this one does the job, and it, you know, the pull outs on it, you know, I just don't get them. You know, I might have 1 in 100 that will actually pull out on me. So I will use that rig all the time. So then there again, measurements again, like get yourself a ruler. I normally work on about a 10-inch rig, 10 to 12-inch rig, depending on whether I'm fishing in silt or not. Mark it up at the 10 to 12-inch. Back down to the eye of the swivel. Right, and with this fire line, you've got to take the wax coating off whenever you tie a knot. You've got to take the wax coating off, because otherwise it doesn't slide properly. So just give it a couple of rubs on the back of your finger again, just take that wax coating off, and then it will slide down nicely for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so that's the basic rig that I use, which I use for 90% of my fishing. You know, it's not technical. I'm not going to give you all this technical bump about rigs. Right, so I'm using 12mm at the moment, so I'll double up on the 12mm bait. So if you keep it all nice and simple, you know, there's not a lot for it to go wrong. You start going technical, and if you don't do it right, then you know it's going to go wrong for you. So this is a basic simple rig, and it's caught me a lot of big fish. I'm always happy to use it. I mean, at this moment in time, there's been 14 fish out on the lake, and I've actually put down 6 fish on my peg. You know, there's 25-30 anglers on the lake at the moment. So, you know, it's simple, nothing technical. Right, going back to the lead now. Right, because I cut that little bit off now on the end of there, the lead will eject itself so easy and not be dragged round with the fish. Just lightly go over the top of that rubber with the lead. And see, it's got the weight there, right? It's got the weight there. As soon as that fish picks its head up and goes like that, it starts to shake its head, the weight's gone. The lead's done its job, so there's no need for it on the line anymore now, so it could just be dropped on the bottom and the fish could swim away with no pressure. So when you whack that fish, there's no weight pulling it down and distressing the fish, so it's away, it's gone, it's done its job, and I'm more than happy to use that. Right, we'll go through to the the other little bit that I use on my rig, which is just a simple thing really. It's some lead putty which comes in 3 different colours, green, brown and black, which is the JRC brand. I put that halfway down my rig. Give it a roll around in your fingers just to heat it up, because it's quite stiff stuff, but you know, it doesn't come off on the cast when you're casting about. And 9 times out of 10, once you play a fish, you normally get it back anyway, so you can just reuse it. So that's that done. Right, we're going to this. Put this back a little bit. Lead's back in place. Now, with that little bit of silicone tubing on the end of the lead there, now if I just hold that right, that's just sat on the bottom there like that now. Right, it's all tied back to the line. If you see, get off. You see, once the lead's on the bottom, you'll get that little spring in silicone tubing, because the PVA bags that I showed you earlier holds the rig up like that, so that little spring goes, it just keeps it under tension all the time. Like, it's nice and tight when the PVA bag's on there, but as soon as it melts, that spring has a tendency of pushing it forward and making it sit like that in a little bit of a snake. The reason why I like to use it like that is that big fish when they feed, they're not like you know, small 30s and 40s that will tilt up on the head and feed like that, you know, feed down and feed hard, whereas the bigger fish will come along and they're such a big fish, they'll suck, and they can like suck up off the bottom 5 or 6 inches. Now if I was to lay the bait down on the bottom, what would happen is the rig would all straighten out like that, and when the fish go to pull it from that direction, it can't, because it's all straight. Whereas if it's in a snake like that, you can pull it any direction it likes, suck at it, and the bait will go straight into his mouth. So that's basically the rigs that I'm using. So I mean, I could talk about all other types of rigs, but that will just confuse you and just do your leading. So keep it simple, stay to the same sort of thing, and once you get confidence in a rig that you're using, just use it all the time. There's no need to change to different style of rigs. Just get happy in the one that you're using. It's catching your fish, stick with that one. Right, so I'm going to go back to put some baits out now. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've got to do my bait up before it gets dark, so hopefully I'll get another run on one of my rods, and I'll be back to you in a bit with a nice big fish to show you. So I'll find my controls, turn off for now, get back to you in a minute. Sunday morning about 11 o'clock, I had 5 fish yesterday, 4 30s and a mid-20. I've just had this 44 common. I haven't been able to do the other fish on the video because it's been a bit manic yesterday with it being Saturday and setting it all up. But there's a lot of fish down here, and hopefully they'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger. This is a 44, which come on the tiger nut pellets, fish with tiger nuts. Fish with a boilie over the top of it, so to say. There we go. Ready for the shot. Just do one, that'll do fine. Yeah. Right, let's get this fish back in the water and get that rod back into action. Hook up with you in a minute. Right, here's another fish for you to look at. I just brought it back to the bank because it was well hooked. Only a small fish. But you can have a look at the small ones as well as the big ones. And I just started spawning big time now, so they're going to be a bit battered from the spawning. But this is about mid-20, 24, 25 I say. My tiger nuts, the tiger nut pellets. I've got about 4 fish on them now, so they're working quite well. I'll show you what they're like later and how I'm using them. For now I'm just going to put this fish back and get the rod back into action. Well, things are getting better now. just have this 51 common. Just a quick shot of it and I'll put it back. It's going to beat me up now because it didn't scrap one out in the lake. Let's see if I can get one shot of it. Behaving beautifully. One more. Quick show for the camera. It's getting quite heavy now. 51 common. Let's get the bait back out there now. Oh, by the way, he's come on the liver and spice. Everything's producing on this trip and the fish are getting bigger. Right, have a look. Thanks darling, let's put you back. I'll cook you in a minute. Right, after that 51 I've just had, I've also had another 3 other fish, 20 and 2 doubles, 2 mid doubles. I brought them back to the bank to show you because I'm after the big fish in the lake. But I'll talk about bait here while it's gone quiet on the lake now and what I've been catching these fish with. As per usual, I'm using the squid and liver 12 mils, which is done quite well on this trip actually. It's probably on par with the tiger nuts that I'm using, but you know, this time of the year coming into the spawning time, I'd like to put a bit of bicycle out because they are like, if they spawn they're going to have a bit of a munch, like because at the beginning of the week they were spawning. So I've been using the old faithful tiger nuts, which come in the big jars like this, or PVA friendly bags, which are the smaller versions, which is ideal for short session fishing, and you know, PVA bag work. You know, they're a good idea because the simple fact is you can put them in a PVA bag and put tiger nuts at a long distance in a small tight area simply by tying, you know, 10 tiger nuts in a little bag, and you can put them a long way. So they are useful to use. They also come in the natural hemp, chili hemp, and the microparticle blend, and spud mix. I think they do a peanut as well, and a mixed seed mix as well. So you know, if you're PVA bag fishing, you know, they're ideal for that sort of thing, because simple thing, little tip that I tell you. These come in a jar and they've got like liquid in them. Before you actually start using them, if you drain off like 3/4 of the liquid and just leave a small sample in the bottom and just let them sit for half an hour, and then just take them out by the spoonful, you only end up with a load of liquid over your PVA mess. It doesn't dissolve the bag, it just makes everything awkward to work with. So if you do that before you actually bag up, do it for about half an hour and they'll drain off just nicely for you. Pellets that I'm using are these tiger nut pellets, which are tiger nut pellets, what they say is what's on the bag. They break down after about 3 or 4 hours in the water, so they're not actually a feed for the fish. They're more of a ground bait feed, and which is ideal for this situation because I'm actually fishing, you know, more or less a pint of these and a good handful of tiger nuts over each rod, so that attracts them into the swim and that actually feeds them. So that's what I'm using, and that's what's catching me fish. Can't really say much else about the bags. I mean, you see me tie bags up already. I've already got a load of bags tied up with the pellets, and about 5 or 6 tiger nuts in a small bag, and about a small golf ball size of pellets, just to give that attraction and a small amount of bait for them to eat. As I say, the lake's slowed down a bit, so I can't really show you much fish at the moment, but I think the weather's due to change in the next couple of days, which will be favourable for me to get out properly, because like start of the week, the wind was blowing into the bay where I'm fishing, but it's actually blowing away from the bay now in a cold easterly wind, which has actually killed the fishing for me. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that with the weather changes, I'll nick a few more fish before I go home. So what I'll do now is put my kettle on, make myself a cup of tea. Next time you see me, hopefully I'm here with a big fish to show you. Section's gone a bit slow now. Most of the light shut down. It's about half nine in the morning. I've just had this fish, and it's just £39. I'm happy to have it. It came to £39. Came to the tiger nuts and the tiger nut pellets. Let's take a photograph on the camera. Oh. There we go. £39. Popping back in the water. Got the lid on shot for you. Then £12. Last fish of the session. Come down to the whoops-a daisy tiger nut pellets, and the tiger nuts. This brings this fish to the last one of the session. Done quite well really, because Peg 2 next door have blanked for a week, and I've managed to whack out a few fish. Biggest one being £51, and the smallest one probably being this one. But they're fish nevertheless. You can't go by sizes, it's getting the action, and I've had plenty of action considering the conditions. You know, the start of the week it was southwesterly blowing in here, and the fish were in here spawning, and now like come Tuesday, the wind's blowing the opposite direction, and the big fish are just gone. The males are just hanging about, and that's all I'm catching is the smaller fish. And the reason I brought this one back to the bank is it was well hooked, and I couldn't unhook it out in the boat, so I brought it back to show you just to finish the video. One little look. Double. There we go. It's popping back in the water. Next time you see me, I'll be at the Barston practicing for the BCAC